Hey everybody, Brent right here, your Northwest Indiana real estate agent. So I'm gonna do things a little different today. Instead of kind of doing what I typically would do and talk about the market as a whole, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the existing home residential market as well as the new construction uh, housing market. I kind of want to separate the two sales so that you guys have a better understanding of kind of what's going on in the market so it's more comparable to maybe your situation. Okay. I know we hear a lot of things about home sales going down, people cutting prices, values dropping, and everything else that you hear in the media and on YouTube and everywhere else we get our news, right? But what people really need to understand is when it comes to real estate, it is very specific to a market. Okay. I'll give you an example. Can hurricanes hit Northwest Indiana? Nope. Um, I don't know. Like, well, I guess that's kind of my main example there, right? But like Florida, we know is having issues, primarily insurance, storms, and a lot of people moved there during the COVID time because it was a state that was open. Like, from my understanding, they didn't really do a lot of shutdowns. But we're seeing a lot of people move back and move out of the area. Plus, you had a lot of people buy Airbnb properties down there in that market. And once the Airbnb market kind of dried up, and it was like, oh, wow, people can go back to Disney World and on cruises and travel to other countries and things like that, it wasn't as lucrative of a business. Well, the problem is you had hedge funds and different funds buying up these homes. And then what do when they're done? They liquidate, right? So as they liquidate, they flood the market, they oversaturate the market in certain areas, which causes the prices to go down. Okay? It's not everywhere in Florida, but it's a lot of places. The other thing that happened in their specific market is you remember when the condo fell? The state had to change their laws. They had to change their rules and regulations to how often condo associations had to be reviewed for structural integrity, and then when repairs need to be made. So a lot of these owners are getting hit with special assessments that they can't afford. Okay, Texas, you're seeing a big turn. A lot of companies moved to Texas. A lot of people moved to Texas. I don't know what's going on. Are they moving out of Texas? I have no idea, but I know that they're hurting, especially in Austin. In fact, Austin at one point was the hardest hit housing market here in the country. Don't know if it still is. I haven't paid attention in the last 2 months. Okay, for the most, like how I was. It's been actually very busy here in Northwest Indiana, and that's one thing I want to talk to you guys about. So, I lost the note. Sorry about that. Let me give you wrong info. So when it goes to existing home sales increased 6.96% year over year for the month of August. Okay, so we're comparing August of 24 5 to August of 24. Okay, so basically a 7% increase. Not only that, the average home sale price went from 291,798 to 306 $65. Okay, so that's a 4.88% increase. That is well above the average 2.5 to 3% that we saw prior to the housing recession here in Northwest Indiana. Okay, um, the average price per foot increased, again, this is the existing homes right here, increased 1.93% with the market time of 36 days versus 30 days. 68.73% of homes were sold within the first 30 days of being on the market when price correct. New construction, okay? New construction homes. The sales increased this year 10.8% over last year, with the price basically staying the same. The price per square foot did increase 2.55%, but the price went from 429,589 to 434,12. So that's what, like a point, I don't know, 2.4, 2.3 something rate, like that's not a significant. But when the price per square foot goes up, that tells us that they're building slightly smaller homes. Again, this is all that we can track. So builders that are actually putting their homes in the MLS. So there's a heck of a lot more of those today than there were 5 years ago, right? Trying to market the homes. However, what this is showing us is that the competition between the existing homes and the new homes is getting easier for the existing homes, but tougher for the new construction homes. Now, when I say that, it was hard for a home seller with a very similar house to try to sell their home, say at the end of 2022 when the interest rates were about 8%, 7.5%. Shoot, at one point we were hitting like 8.5% in some cases, maybe even higher. I've heard of, um, in the end of 2023, kind of the same concept. To be honest with you, 8.25%, 8.5%. It's kind of funny. I kind of called all this, and all these lenders say, "No, Brad, it's not going to happen. We're going to be at like 4% by August." And no, we're at 8, bud. But whatever. Now, why is real estate so specific, right, to an area? Because every area is different. We just talked about Florida, the insurance, the hurricanes, things like that. What do we have that would make Indiana desirable? Chicago. I went to the game yesterday, Bears Vikings. Let's go Vikings, right? Just joking, guys. Don't get mad. But I went to the game, checked it out, had fun. Anyways, we left. I picked up the last person about 4:30. We headed out. We were driving to Chicago. We jumped on 65 there, or sorry, 94. And shortly after we passed 65, it was an absolute parking lot heading east on 94. And this went about 5 to 6 miles, maybe 4 miles into Illinois, where 294 and 94 split, right, shortly after Torrance. My point is it's insane how many people are moving over. Okay. This is why our market has stayed strong compared to other markets. I mean, the interest rates now are getting more competitive. In fact, I just got an alert today. Again, I'm not a loan officer, but on this, what is it? Mortgage News Daily. Okay, I get alerts every day. This is supposed to rate the national average interest rate for the perfect buyer, essentially. So that's like 30% down over a 760 credit score. A conventional loan today, national average 6.29%. We haven't seen numbers like this in, I mean, maybe early in the year, like early, but really, like last time they cut the Fed's fund rate, the rates went up. A lot of this has to do with that jobs report coming out and how they made the corrections, which they've been making corrections for years, but whatever. Um, but my point is the spread of the interest rates not as bad. So the existing homes are actually doing good compared to what they were doing 2, 3, 4, 5 months ago. And if the interest rates keep going down, we're going to stay on this trajectory. Or trajectory. Sorry. Ugh, tired, late night, right? Um, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I sell real estate here in Northwest Indiana. I'm happy to help with any questions you have. I do want to tell you a quick success story. It might not be the quickest thing, so I'll try to wrap it up. Basically, I got a phone call from a nice lady. Hey, Brent, I need you to come to my house. This was a few weeks ago, so I confirmed it is a success story. That's why I'm telling you about it. And this is the kind of stuff I do as well, just with advice. Calls like, hey, I need you to come. I need a market analysis on my home. So I said, okay, cool. What are you thinking about selling? Well, I think we're going to keep it, but we're going to try to keep it. I said, okay, well, what's going on? Well, I probably going to be filing bankruptcy, so I just need you to come over to the house and do a report. Like, what's the charge? I said, don't worry about it. Like, I'll stop by, right? So as I'm at the house, it's a nice home. Clearly, they're using the house. They have a family. Everything's good. I was like, I'm not an advisor. I'm not this. I'm not that. But why are you selling this home again? And she's like, well, we racked up some debt in our on credit cards. Our credit card debt is way too high right now, and we're making these payments, and we just can't afford it. So I think we got to do this. And I'm like, do you really want to do that? Because you're probably going to hurt your credit for the long run, right? And she's like, no, I don't want to do it, but I just feel like it's what we have to do. And I said, how long would you buy your house? Anyways, it came out that she had a bunch of equity in her home. Okay. And I told her, I typically don't tell people to do this, right? Unless they're financially smart, right? And they have a lot of restraint, because it can be a bad thing. However, I said, you know, to get it fixed, there's a better way than, maybe filing. And she's like, what? So you can get a HELOC on your house. They're free to get. You can have a variable rate or a fixed rate, and it's all going to depend on the terms that the bank gives you because they're a portfolio. When you get one, it's the terms that the bank creates. Now, they typically use prime rate plus, right? So it might be prime plus 2.5, prime plus 3, whatever. Every bank's different. It's going to depend on your relationship with the bank. There's a lot of factors: credit, debt to income ratios. And anyways, my point is for the amount of credit card debt that she had, or her husband had, their minimum payments alone were right around, I think she told me, like close to $2,800 a month. However, she was able to go into this, do a HELOC, right? And by doing the HELOC, home equity line of credit, she was able to take, and that's just what she was paying towards interest. And that didn't even, from my understanding, that wasn't even the full payment. That was kind of like, hey, what we need to pay to get by, which means the interest is just stacking up every single month, right? So I told her, go get this line of credit. Your interest only payment, I think when we calculated it, was going to be like right around $450 a month. I'm like, but if and you got to pay interest only, but you got to have it paid off in 10 years. I was like, you're used to spending 3,000 a month. It's killing you. Spend 2,500. Can you do that? She said, yeah, we can make that work for a while. And I said, cool. So you go ahead, you pay the 400, the interest, plus you pay the additional 2,100. When we broke it down, it's like, dude, you're going to be debt free in 16 months. Own your house and not have a bankruptcy on your credit. Does that sound good? She was like, that sounds great. I said, cool. Who do you bank with? Give them a call. Ask this, and this, and just do this. She did it. Now we're a month and a half in. Payment calculated just how we kind of thought it would, right? And she's going to be debt free in a year. Not debt free, like she'll have a mortgage, but all of this extra debt is going to be eliminated. She's got a better interest rate on her house today than it would have been if she would have gone to rent a house or try to buy a new house, right? Because of the interest rates and everything. So there really are things that people can do to help. I can't tell you what to do, but I can give you advice on what I would do in certain situations. And these are the things I like to do to help people. So if you have any questions, again, give me a call. Brent right here, 219-406-7195. So sorry this video went on and on and on. Okay. But thank you.